Hello people, so as some of you may already know, I recently went to Scotland for 10 days. I did of course film while I was there, but I didn't do much talking while I was there, you know, talking to the camera, explaining where I was. I went with Scott, his sister and her boyfriend, and the other two people don't really know I make videos, and I don't know, I was just feeling a bit about vlogging in public, so I just thought, well, I can just talk to the camera at home and just do overlays, so that's what I'm doing today. This, by the way, will also double up as my monthly vlog for October because literally all I filmed was in Scotland, so I'm just gonna talk about the whole trip, non-Harry Potter related things and Harry Potter related things, and hope for the best, I guess. So I guess the first thing I should talk about is the first reason why we went to Scotland. I mean, I told Scott I wanted to go to Scotland anyway to visit all of the Harry Potter filming locations that I can, but also he had entered a race. Basically, Scott does mountain bike racing and he had entered to do a 24-hour race. So yeah, literally he was racing for 24 hours straight, only stopping to eat a few bits here and there. And obviously we all went with him and supported him. That was very tiring at the end, especially for Scott, but also really fun. There was a cafe open all night, so I just lived off hot chocolates and tea, and we did everything we could to keep warm. Before I go on with the video, editing me here, because I forgot to mention a key part of our time at the Nevis Range in Fort William, which is where the race was held. See, I even forgot to tell you where it was. So while we were at the Nevis Range, me and Scott's sister Mia decided to go on a granola or a cable cart up to a mountaintop, not Glen Nevis, but just a slightly smaller mountain than Glen Nevis. We could easily see Glen Nevis from where we were, so we were very close to it. But even though we didn't go as high as Glen Nevis, where we did go, there were two viewpoints, and from each viewpoint you could just see for miles. The scenery, the views were absolutely stunning. I can't even describe how incredible it was, not to mention the fact that it was also incredibly windy because we were up really high. But yeah, I hope you can see from the video footage, which by the way is not going to do it justice, just how beautiful and incredible the scenery was, even just from where we were. There was mountainous views, there were lochs, and yeah, like I said, just incredibly beautiful. And yeah, that was the first proper scenery we had seen on our Scotland trip so far. Scott got second place overall, which is awesome, especially seeing as it was the first 24-hour solo race he's ever done. So yeah, very proud of him. Congratulations, Scott. So yeah, we did that at the beginning of our 10-day holiday, and after that it was relaxing. We had rented a house for most of the week, which worked out brilliantly because it meant we didn't have to spend loads of money on eating out every day. Yeah, that was good. And it was also really nice to be able to just relax and chill out on the sofa watching a bit of telly, which you can't really do in hotels very easily. We stayed in a place called Fort William, and there were like massive windows in the lounge looking out at a beautiful loch and a mountain on the other side of the loch, which was really nice to see every day. But yeah, enough about that. Let's go on to what you guys are here for, the Harry Potter filming locations. So yeah, being a Harry Potter fan, going to Scotland, especially the Scotland Highlands, is something I've wanted to do for a very long time. The first one we went to, which I didn't realise how much of a big Harry Potter location it was because it was a waterfall. We went to a place called Shield Falls, and yeah, as I said, it's a waterfall, and I didn't know how much of the waterfall itself was in the film, but apparently quite a few scenes were filmed in this whole area with the lake/loch that is surrounding the waterfall. There's a river there and it's all very scenic, very beautiful, so I can imagine they filmed different parts of different films in different sections. But fun fact, when we got home, the day we got home, I think it was the day we got home, on the TV, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire was on, and so we were like, yeah, let's put that on. Let's see if we can notice some of the filming locations we went to. And right at the part where Harry's being chased by the dragon, there's a little like 1 second clip of Shield Falls, and I got really excited because I thought, I didn't know that Shield Falls was actually in the film. I thought it was just like the surrounding areas. But yeah, anyway, that was really nice. I think they said it was the second largest waterfall in Scotland. We didn't see what the largest was. We basically went there because it was nearby. I went on a website where there was a list of filming locations in Scotland, and that was really close to us. That was in Fort William. So I was like, oh yeah, let's just go there. Keep it in the back of my mind, it's a filming location, but that's not why we went. It was because it was a close thing to do when we all went together. So yeah, that was the first proper Harry Potter filming location in Scotland. Day 2, staying in Fort William after the race, we went on the Jacobite train over the viaduct, which, you know, everyone knows if you're going to Scotland and you're a Harry Potter fan, even if you're not a Harry Potter fan, because it's still advertised as being one of the most scenic train rides you can do. But especially if you're a Harry Potter fan, try and get tickets onto the Jacobite. The train ride was really nice. Unfortunately, it did rain quite a bit while we were there. Trying to get video footage over the viaduct, my poor little G7X was getting soaked. But it was worth it. I got some pretty awesome shots, I think, of going over the viaduct itself. It was actually the first time we saw the viaduct, because obviously you can watch the train go over the viaduct, you can visit the viaduct anyway. But the first time I properly saw it was going over it, and that was actually kind of surreal, because I didn't expect it to be like... I kind of forgot, I suppose, of how big and how magnificent the viaduct itself can be. So yeah, looking out the window and filming it as well. Footage doesn't do it justice. If you're ever in the Scotland Highlands, specifically Glenfinnan, go see the Glenfinnan viaduct. It is absolutely stunning, beautiful. So yeah, that was day 2. Day 3, we didn't do anything Harry Potter related because, of course, I'm the only Harry Potter fan in my friendship group, okay? So we couldn't do Harry Potter related things all the time. And so day 3, it was only fair we did something that the other 2 people that we went with wanted to do, and Scott's sister really wanted to go to the Highland Wildlife Park. Obviously, completely recommend going there as well if you're in the Highlands, because you get to see polar bears. There's not really very many other places in the UK, I don't think, where you can actually see polar bears. We watched one of them having lunch while the other one was playing in the pool and trying to put a tyre over his head. It was quite fun, really nice. And it's also very interesting, by the way, to see a polar bear eating a pigeon. that was really cool, actually, to see the polar bears really up close. There was also some Arctic foxes, which were so cute, and they were play fighting, and that, just so adorable, so adorable. Arctic foxes, man, I really want one. There was a very beautiful snow leopard, and later on in the day we got to see the mother polar bear, because the female was kept separate from the males. Mother polar bear, who recently had a little baby. Well, it might have been like a year ago or something, because he's nearly as big as his mum. But yeah, eventually, because we went to see them earlier on in the day and they were just hiding in the corner way up high, but eventually they came down closer towards us to a little pool, and the little boy started playing in the pool. Definitely a bucket list kind of thing to see a polar bear. I mean, it would obviously be even more spectacular to see a polar bear out in the wild, although that would be more dangerous. But obviously polar bears are an endangered species now, and that, you know, with the whole ice caps melting, it's really sad. So, you know, it's good that they can be kept in a safe place like that, and they don't have to worry about predators, although polar bears are probably right near the top of the food chain anyway. And they are always guaranteed a meal, so yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that was my day in the Highlands Wildlife Park. The next day we split up. Scott and I went back to Glenfinnan to look at the viaduct from outside of the train, and we got there in time to see the Jacobites come over the viaduct, and I got lots of photos of that, and again, really cool to see the viaduct in all its glory. And the path we walked to get up to look at the viaduct and to watch the Jacobite train come over actually goes underneath the viaduct. So again, yeah, really cool. Got to see it from both angles. Again, photos aren't going to do it justice. The viaduct is a very beautiful thing, and seeing the Jacobite from the outside as well was really cool. And people obviously were poking their heads out of the windows and waving, because there's always going to be people on the ground watching and all waving at each other. I felt like I was part of the railway children, just waving at the people in the train. And also in Glenfinnan was a loch, which is a Harry Potter filming location, which I believe was Shield Loch. So what I read about Loch Shield before actually visiting was that it was a location used for the second Triwizard Task, and also the loch where Harry flew over Buckbeak in Prisoner of Azkaban. But also, going back to what I said about watching the Goblet of Fire after we went, we also noticed that Loch Shiel looked very much like the loch that the ship came out of, the Durmstrang ship. When that scene came on, I was like, that is blatantly Loch Shiel. You can just tell. When you look at something head on, it looked like it was exactly the same position that the camera was in when the ship came up. And I was like, oh yeah, we've been there, that's Loch Shiel. So yeah, also really cool. But that's not all. We went to 2 other locations that day. We went on a proper trek. The next location we went to was to see the Dumbledore Grave Island, which is called... bear with me, it's called Elaine Mayan? I don't know. Obviously had to go see that. Again, looking on the website to find out where it was, they said that it looks smaller in real life, and that is because they kind of combined 2 lochs when filming Dumbledore's grave to make it look bigger. And yeah, once you get there, you notice that the grave island itself is quite small and the loch it's in is quite narrow. But you can definitely tell what it is when you look at it, because it has the same like perfect like dome shape with the trees, and it just looks really cool. We spent a little bit of time there because I wanted to get a picture of me posing, holding my wand up in like commemoration of Dumbledore's death or whatever. If you're not following me on Instagram, by the way, Friendly Hufflepuff is where you can find me on Instagram. Every single loch you go past, you look at, every one of them is different, every one of them is beautiful, and yeah, just absolutely stunning. All of it. Just all of the Scotland Highlands. Just the most beautiful. It is without a shadow of a doubt the most beautiful place I've ever been. So the last one we went to was a bit of a while to get to. So again, on the website with a list of filming locations, there was one that said where Hagrid's hut was filmed, and they actually built Hagrid's hut on location. Obviously it's not there anymore. We wanted to find the exact site where they built Hagrid's hut and they filmed. So, and interestingly enough, if you look on Google Maps, it's somewhere in Glencoe. If you look on Google Maps, you can see it says site where Hagrid's hut was filmed. That's what it's called on Google Maps. So it's actually quite easy to find on Google Maps. It's just not that easy to find when you're actually going along the road. So we had to park up somewhere, and you have to like climb up a little bit. It's very steep. Climb up a little bit, and you eventually you will recognise it when you see it. You will recognise it from the films. You can recognise like the little flat area where Hagrid's hut would have been filmed, and there's trees in the background, and you just know that that's where Hagrid's hut was filmed. And yeah, again, really cool to see that. We climbed up a little higher so that we can look at it from coming down, and as we were walking down, I was thinking about the scene where in Prisoner of Azkaban where Harry and Hermione are running down to Hagrid's. They also said that the sundial, the rocky sundial bit where Hermione punched Draco, that was built there as well, but not there anymore. So that's partly why I wanted to climb up higher. But it is so steep, and it had been raining, so it was very wet and muddy, but absolutely worth it to see it. It was really cool. Day 5 of our Scotland Highlands holiday, not a Harry Potter related day, but a day spent looking for a particular loch which is very famous in Scotland, and that is obviously Loch Ness. So we travelled all the way up to Inverness, and we obviously wanted to see Loch Ness, the famous Loch Ness. It's actually quite difficult to look at the loch as in one go because it's so long. It's one of the longest lochs in Scotland. You could be driving up one end of it for like half an hour, 45 minutes probably. But we did find a nice little beachy area at one end of the loch, parked up and walked down this little beach area. It was so windy. I tried to take a selfie of myself and like pictures of me and Scott, and my hair was just like it was so funny. But yeah, absolutely worth it because we got to see Loch Ness. Which brings me on to another very significant thing that happened on this day and at this loch. Scott decided to ask me to marry him. So yeah, even though there were like gale force winds, we were both wrapped up in coats, hoods, scarves, gloves. Scott was just like, oh well. He didn't actually say that, but yeah, he got down on one knee and asked me to marry him. He didn't have the ring there at the time, which is just as well because we were wearing gloves anyway. But then we went into the Inverness town and chose a ring together. Here is the ring. I don't like showing off and I feel really awkward right now, by the way. But I thought I should just insert the engagement in this video as it instantly became one of the highlights of the holiday. So after Loch Ness, we went to one more Harry Potter filming location. Again, on the website with a list of Harry Potter filming locations, they listed a gorge. This gorge was in a place called Evanton, somewhere up north. I don't know. There was this gorge that was said to have been used in the Goblet of Fire in the scene where Harry's been chased by a dragon. I couldn't really work out where there was a gorge in the Harry Potter film. I tried looking it up, but I didn't have any signal. But anyway, we thought we'd go and see this gorge. Really nice walk going up towards the deepest and narrowest part of the gorge, which was quite nice because we were kind of like slowly walking uphill, and obviously the water is just staying low. Slowly we realised that the sound of the running water was getting quieter and quieter, and the gorge itself was getting deeper and deeper until at one point I tried looking over and I couldn't actually see the water. It was that deep. And then we finally got to the other end where there was this little wooden bridge going along. The bridge itself wasn't that long, probably like just a metre or so long, going across this little narrow crack where the water was running through, and it was really deep. Really, really deep. I obviously took some photos and video footage, but it just doesn't do it justice of how deep this gorge is. It's really cool. And there was a sign there with information about the gorge, and on this sign it did actually say this was used for filming for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It only appears for a few seconds, but it was still a really nice walk anyway. And then after that, we were on our way back down south, and we spent a few hours in Edinburgh because, you know, obviously I had to go to Edinburgh. It's one of the most magical places in Scotland. It promotes Harry Potter a lot, does Edinburgh, and you know, obviously that's because J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter in Edinburgh. So yeah, we went to the Elephant House, which obviously advertises itself as the birthplace of Harry Potter. You had to pay to take pictures in there unless you were like buying things. We went in there for a cup of tea and just had a nice little look around. That was quite nice to go in there. We went to Victoria Street, which is said to be the inspiration for Diagon Alley. Obviously we went to Edinburgh Castle, but that was just because it was really cool to go there. And we actually went on a really good day, actually. It was on a Saturday we went, but there was some sort of event going on, there was a Chinese dragon, there were people doing like street performances, there were white horses. There's a lot of stuff going on, and there was like bagpipes, people playing bagpipes. It felt really Scottish. And even though we'd spent the last like 9-10 days in Scotland, that was the most Scottish I felt, was being in Edinburgh. We also went to the Kirkyard Graveyard. We went to see J.K. Rowling's hands impressed in stone. Conveniently, all these things were quite close to each other, so that was really nice. Yeah, we did a lot of the Harry Potter things that there were to do in Edinburgh for the few hours that we were there. And then we drove all the way down to Newcastle, where we stayed for the night before our drive back down south and out of Scotland. Scotland, absolutely, I said it. It is the most beautiful place I've ever visited. Definitely a bucket list place to go. And I'm so glad I went in autumn. You know, you think it's autumn, right? But you don't know it's autumn until you go to Scotland, until you go to the Highlands, when you see all of the mountains and all of the trees, and the trees, so many different colours, and it's so beautiful. I am so glad I went in autumn. I loved it, absolutely loved it. That's all I'm going to say about it now, because I've been blabbering on for ages and my battery is now running low. So yeah, that was my holiday in Scotland. Lots of really awesome things happened. One thing in particular. I'm going to go now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did. Let me know down in the comments if you've been to Scotland. If so, what places have you visited? And yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.